In the heat of the moment, it's very common for emotions to run high, particularly in the NBA. Players want to give their best, and it's not rare to have disagreements between the players and the referees. As a result, the referees have to keep the game under control, and they sometimes toss a player, putting the franchise in a tough spot. In today's video, we'll look at the 10 most ejected players in NBA history. Starting with number 10, Paul Pierce, 10 ejections. One of the best players ever to play for the Celtics, Paul Pierce, also had an incredible passion for the sport. It's not uncommon for Boston players to get that extra adrenaline boost given how they're probably the best supported team in the NBA. However, for Pierce, it also got the worst out of him, and his ejections became the norm as he was ejected 10 times over the course of his 19-year career in the NBA. That fiery passion included 2 ejections during the playoffs, and it wasn't the smartest of decisions on his part. You'd think that he'd learn from it, but no. If you're getting ejected every other season over a career that spanned 2 decades, it means you have a bit of a disciplinary issue, but the 10-time All-Star made up for it by winning the championship for the Celtics in 2008. After that, at number 9, Shaquille O'Neal, 10 ejections. Big Shaq does not need any introduction. He's up there as one of the most dominant players of all time, and his presence was unrivaled during his successful stay in the league. Unfortunately, though, that meant he was also a target for Hack-a-Shaq rules, and they tried to do everything to stop him. As a result, O'Neal finished his career with 10 ejections, and the fact that he's only 9th on the list shows that he behaved himself for the majority of his career. Of course, though, the 171 technical fouls aren't something that we're looking at. You know, while we're talking about ejections, that didn't stop him from having an insanely successful career, multiple MVP titles, and 4 rings to show for all that domination. We're sure he doesn't mind those 4 ejections. On to number 8, Meta Sandiford Artest, aka World Peace, aka Ron Artest, 11 ejections. Known as one of the premier defenders in the NBA, Artest also won the Defensive Player of the Year award in 2004. He was a great defender, but his greatness included some rough play and behavioral issues that resulted in 11 ejections over an 18-year career in the NBA. He advocated for world peace by changing his name, but that's not how he liked playing the game, as he got into an altercation with the fan during a match in the infamous Malice at the Palace. Artest served a season-long suspension, but that didn't change his playing style or attitude during the successful stay in the league. For Artest, the problem was the tough inner-city attitude that often got the worst out of him. But despite his eccentric and outspoken behavior, Artest ended his career winning a ring with the Lakers. Next at number 7, Gary Payton, 11 ejections. The second overall pick of the 1990 draft, Gary Payton, went on to become one of the best point guards in NBA history. His intense style of defending, which was primarily man-to-man, contributed to most of these ejections because, if you're up against Payton, one thing's for sure: the dribbler isn't crossing the half-court mark without Payton being a menace to them for 24 seconds. Along with that intensity, Payton also had a knack for trash talk, and all of that resulted in a staggering 278 technical fouls, 3rd most in league history, and 11 ejections, in the top 8 for this too. But like most players on the list, he wouldn't change this playing style and statistic for the world, considering it helped him win a ring and made the NBA All-Star on 9 occasions. Coming in at number 6, Stephen Jackson, 11 ejections. By the time we're done with this video, you'll realize that all the players on this list are tough guys and hard-nosed athletes. So it's not surprising that one of the toughest players of all time makes it to the most ejected list. Stephen Jackson was ejected 11 times in his playing career, and he always was one of those hard men type of guys who simply took no prisoners as a player. Of course, one of his most famous ejections is an event considering it came from the infamous Malice at the Palace, when the Pacers got into a proper fight in Detroit. All things considered though, 11 ejections in 14 seasons is quite a statistic. He nearly averaged 1 per season, and that's more than the number of blocks he averaged over his career, so well done, Stephen. Making the top 5, Reggie Miller, 12 ejections. You may not know that one of the best shooters in NBA history, Reggie Miller, also gained a reputation for being a supreme agitator. While he could knock down a shot from almost anywhere on the floor, Miller could also get under the skin of almost any player in the league. That much was obvious considering he got into a couple of dust-ups with MJ, and it's hardly a surprise that he racked up 12 ejections over his 18-year stay in the NBA. The shooting guard could trash talk anyone and use that skill almost as much as his shooting to help his team win. It didn't help him win a ring in Indiana, where he spent his entire career, but he still got his shirt retired by the Pacers and by UCLA Bruins. And that's the mark of a fantastic career. Moving on to number 4, Kenyon Martin, 12 ejections. Kenyon Martin played 15 seasons in the NBA for 5 different teams and made it to the All-Star side in 2004. He was the first overall draft pick of the 2000 draft, but he never got his hands on a ring, and that'll be something he'll always regret. Despite impressing while playing for the New Jersey Nets because of his fabulous dunks, Martin earned a reputation for being a household favorite. However, that's not how the opposition fans saw him because his fiery attitude rubbed opponents and the referees the wrong way. He would get into a number of arguments with the referees, and that meant Martin was ejected 12 times in his underrated career, not to mention the 130 technical fouls he also racked up. But that hardly puts a dent in his legacy. Into the top 3 with Matt Barnes' 12 ejections. In 14 seasons, Barnes was ejected an insane 12 times. But anyone who saw him play knows that this was his whole brand. You can always count on Barnes to back you up in a fight, and he was one of the premier tough guys during his playing days. In fact, he even went to fight Derek Fisher once, while Fisher was a coach of the team because of a personal dispute. Not to mention the time when he rattled Kobe for feigning a pass into his face. These antics were just some of the many that led to Matt getting ejected a total of 12 times. And he also finished his career with 32 flagrant fouls. It was never a good idea to get on the wrong side of Barnes, and always a great one to have him on your side. At number 2, DeMarcus Cousins, 14 ejections and counting. Yeah, that's an important addition to this statistic because, officially speaking, Cousins is still an active player and he's currently aiming to find a new team for his return to the NBA. Plus, he's only 32, and with his fantastic physical transformation, it wouldn't be a surprise to see him back in the NBA. Of course, that means he can add to his tally of 14 ejections, because you can't change your emotional side, can you? Cousins is one of the very few players to have been ejected from the bench, in street clothes, during a Warriors-Knicks game in 2018. But at the same time, he'll need to play regularly and very disruptively to displace the person who makes the number 1 on this particular list. But he'll probably stay at number 2 for a long time. Finally at number 1, Rasheed Wallace, 29 ejections. Yeah, the undisputed king of ejections, Rasheed Wallace. With an insane total of 29 ejections, the 4th pick of the 1995 draft was something of a fierce competitor. Okay, that might be downplaying it a bit. Wallace won an NBA championship playing for the Pistons, but he'll always be remembered for having the last word in arguments with referees. The most famous of all that was Ball Don't Lie ejection that came after a technical foul on Louis Scola, but we're sure there are many more memorable ones. The power forward/center finished his career with the most technical fouls in a season, along with 29 ejections and 373 technical fouls in total. But he wasn't a bad player, and his 4-time All-Star credentials speak for themselves. That's a wrap for this video. Which player among the current lot will find themselves on this list soon? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.